The kart racing genre was at the peak of its popularity by the late 90s, especially on the Nintendo 64. The Mario Kart franchise was setting itself for years to come, and almost every mascot followed suit. The only thing the PlayStation offered for the genre exclusively was Moto2 Grand Prix, developed by Polyphony Digital, but that was merely a side project to prepare themselves for the Gran Turismo series. However, Crash Bandicoot creators Naughty Dog originally wanted to make a kart racer based on their mascot after Cortex Strikes Back, as their deal with Universal Interactive Studios meant they can only make 3 games. So they convinced the publisher to make 1 more, and worked on Warped and the game engine for Crash Team Racing simultaneously, which looking back is out of this world. After Warped was released in 1998, and Andy Gavin completed the engine for CTR, he went to work on a complicated programming code for a brand new title on the upcoming PlayStation 2, which would end up becoming Jak and Daxter the precursor legacy, while the rest of the team worked solely on Crash Team Racing, which was released on October 1999. Out of all the PlayStation 1 games I played the most, this might take the cake. I always thought that this was the best game on the PlayStation. Look, I was a little kid, I wasn't allowed to play Metal Gear Solid or Resident Evil back then, and even today it's still looked upon as a masterpiece of the kart racing genre.
Greetings, creatures of this planet. I come to compete.
Nitrous Oxide from Gas Moxia arrives just outside the planet Earth bragging about his driving skills, claiming to be the fastest in the galaxy. I mean, Sonic doesn't exist in the franchise, so he might have a case. But anyway, he offers a deal. If anyone from Earth can beat Nitrous Oxide, then he'll leave the planet alone forever.
But if I win, I'll turn your entire globe into a concrete parking lot and make you my slaves.
Everybody, including the villains, prepared themselves for Oxide by forming a race series to see who the fastest is. Well, most of them. The first thing you do is select one of them. All of them appeared in the PS1 trilogy at least once, and the stat differences are present. However, you can't change drivers in the middle of the adventure mode for a certain race. Not that you'll need to, because whatever character you select, it's possible to complete this game 101%. Next, you're placed on a giant island which serves as a hub world where you enter races much like Diddy Kong Racing, which is a good way to introduce the mode because there's more to this game than just placing first on every track. And after the first few races, Aku or Uka depends on the character you've chosen, will give you tips that actually come in handy if you've never played this before.
You can go faster through turns by power sliding. To access the power slide, press and hold the R1 button while turning hard.
We'll get to that in a moment. After winning all the trophies within an area, you race a boss one-on-one who has a key to a new area to repeat the formula on different tracks.
I doubt you'll be as lucky with Oxide.
Like every Crash Bandicoot title on the PlayStation, the graphics have aged rather well, which is a rarity unless it's in 2D. If I do have a criticism, there's a bit of slowdown during the podium scene, but that's about it. As long as it doesn't happen during a race, there's no problem. While not as detailed as the platformer titles, you have to understand that the levels in the PS1 trilogy were thin, which allowed the designers to do so much more, without compromising the power of the PlayStation. But once you have a racing game with tracks that spread out like a Tony Hawk Pro Skater level, and still have to maintain the theme Crash Bandicoot is known for, what else can you do? Overall, it still looks great, and that's all that matters. The soundtrack is just as you'd expect from a Crash Bandicoot game. It fits with the track design, and there are a couple of genuinely catchy tunes like Engine Labs and Cortex's Castle. I'm not the best at judging music. Personally, I love it because it's so nostalgic, but it's not as memorable as Mario Kart 64 or Warped. The track designs are either based off levels from the PS1 trilogy or tracks from Mario Kart 64 or Diddy Kong Racing. I mean, look at Cortex's Castle, Tiny Arena or Crash Cove. In fact, the first thing Naughty Dog did was recreate Crescent Island from Diddy Kong Racing to see if the PlayStation hardware was suitable for a high quality kart racer. Because there's more space on a CD, you have more jumps and corners. The established N64 titles came out before CTR, so what you see is a case of Naughty Dog improving on the genre as it continued to grow. A racetrack is littered with holding items in the form of question mark crates and contain power-ups to give yourself the edge. Once again, the similarities to Mario Kart are obvious. If you look at this table and think about it for a second, it makes sense. Not that I have anything against it, because aesthetic-wise, they feel like Crash Bandicoot power-ups and feels satisfying to use, but regularly determines whether you win or lose. Another crate is one filled with Wumpa Fruit, which makes the car go faster and upgrade your power-ups after collecting 10. So don't forget to eat your fruit regularly. The controls are what made Crash Team Racing stand out from the N64 rivals. Okay, these were fine, they're simple enough to pick up and play, but Mario Kart 64 lacks variety, and the frame rates in Diddy Kong Racing is intolerable by today's standards unless you mod the system. Also, the analog sticks on the controller wear over time, but in Crash Team Racing, you can do more, but it's just as simple to get into. Most kart games rely on the slam the gas button and steer mechanic. We wanted the player to be more involved than that, so we added a new turbo system that enables the player to get boosts of speed from both hang time and during power slides. It's something I never thought about playing it as a kid because I completely ignored the tips from Aku Uka Uka. All I wanted to do was race. I was stupid. Once you see gas coming out of the exhaust or the bar turning red on the bottom right of the screen while sliding, press L1 for a boost, which can be done 3 times on one slide. Expect your fingers to dance all over the trigger buttons because it's mandatory for getting anywhere in Crash Team Racing. The controls are timeless. It's just as fun to play as it was in 1999. And set another staple for the genre. After collecting all the trophies and keys from the bosses, Nitrous Oxide is waiting for you at his station.
What took you so long?
But even if you beat him, it isn't enough.
At least you still haven't gathered all my time relics.
He's right. It only contributes to 38% of the adventure mode. You also need to collect all the tokens, gems and relics before you can challenge Oxide again. The objective of these CTR token races is to collect the 3 letters CTR scattered in rather obscure places and win the race. Every track has this challenge, even the battle arenas where you have to collect all the crystals. Probably one of the few instances where the breaks are necessary, and a clever way to use the battle arenas on single player. Getting enough tokens of a certain colour will unlock a gem card, which is a 4-race series on a higher difficulty, and probably the hardest part of the game if you're trying to complete a trophy hunter style. You also obtain relics, which like the platformers involve beating the time limit, with crates scattered all over the track which stop time. The faster the record, the better the relic, which ranges between Sapphire, Gold and Platinum. You only need to get the Sapphire ones to reach 100% and get the true ending, but all the relics need to be at least Gold to reach 101%. Collecting all the tokens and gems are the only way to unlock all possible relic events, including the ones at Gemstone Valley where the tracks are set in generic looking stadiums. After clearing everything, you'll face Nitrous Oxide one more time, which is honestly no different from the first showdown. The way you drive makes a difference. One moment you're at the back of the line, next thing you're 10 seconds ahead one lap later. Although rubber banding is the most likely reason, and it becomes blatantly obvious in the gem races when the difficulty is increased and giving the opponents a head start, you still have to fight for first place, and it's very satisfying when you earn a gem or platinum relic. Completing this game to such an extent will unlock new characters and tracks for other game modes, including arcade cups and time trial. Although they come across as random modes to kill time, they're actually another way of unlocking even more content, adding extra replay value to an already stacked single player experience. It's worth noting that you can use cheats to unlock everything immediately, but that's no fun. In time trial, you have the track to yourself.
Well, let's see if you can beat my fastest time on this track.
But if you drive quickly enough, End Trophy's ghost will appear, and defeating it on all the tracks will unlock End Trophy as a playable character, and the option to defeat Oxide's records, which will unlock another Naughty Dog scrapbook montage. It's basically a different way of collecting all the platinum relics. The arcade cups are similar to the gems, only you have to win all 4 on every difficulty, which unlocks 3 additional battle arenas. Which is a good thing, because CTR wouldn't qualify as a car racer if it didn't include split-screen multiplayer, but it does with up to 4 players providing that you have the multi-tap accessory. But what really confused me was when you play this on the PlayStation 3 by downloading it off the PlayStation Store, if you turn on a third controller, it doesn't recognize it. Well, here's what you do. Set the second controller to 1B, the third controller to 1C, and the fourth to 1D. Just think about the letters on an actual multi-tap, which is good to know. Different multiplayer modes include versus and battles, just like Mario Kart. The arenas are smaller, which make for more intense combat, but because the Nintendo 64 has 4 controller ports as standard, Mario Kart is still the go-to for multiplayer. But any mentions of not being able to play PS1 games with more than 2 players on a PS3 in previous reviews, I take it all back. No disrespect to Nintendo, if it weren't for Mario Kart, Crash Team Racing wouldn't even exist. CTR copied a lot of the elements from the N64 titles, but they're mostly the positive ones. It has a story mode with better controls and more tracks, battle arenas and characters. The least I can say is that Crash Team Racing is the best kart racer not on a Nintendo console. It was the perfect alternative to Mario Kart if you grew up with the PlayStation, and it has to be beaten at least once. You're missing out if you've never played it before. It was the perfect way for Naughty Dog to say goodbye to Crash Bandicoot, as they had plans to move on with more creative control. They would be purchased by Sony Computer Entertainment in 2001, ending their relationship with Universal Interactive on a high note. Sequels to CTR were released in the next generation, including Nitro Kart and Tag Team Racing, but none can hold a candle to the PS1 masterpiece that is still beloved today and is a perfect case in point of Naughty Dog's brilliance. It really is one of the greatest games on the original PlayStation.
Keep your miserable brat. I'm out of here for good.